So Musashi Miyamoto in Baki is inspired from a real-life legend. Miyamoto Musashi was a real-life Japanese swordsman and a ronin. A ronin is a term used in feudal Japan to describe a warrior without a lord or master. These warriors were often mercenaries, hired by whichever lord or clan could afford their services. Miyamoto Musashi is one of the most famous swordsmen in Japanese history. He was born in 1584 in the province of Mimasaka. Musashi began his training at an early age and quickly gained a reputation as a skilled swordsman. He is said to have fought over 60 duels without losing a single one. In 1645, he wrote the Book of Five Rings, which is a treatise on swordsmanship and strategy, that is still studied by martial artists today. Later, Musashi died in 1645 at the age of 61. Though he lived a relatively short life, his legacy as a master swordsman has endured for centuries. So in the Baki universe, Musashi Miyamoto was brought back to life in the modern era with a mixture of extremely advanced science and voodoo magic by Tokugawa and his sister. Shortly after getting accustomed to the fact of his revival, Musashi is settled into a residence with Tokugawa for an unknown period of time. While being hosted by the old man, Musashi is also given numerous invitations to fight the New World's top champions. Seeing this as an opportunity to reclaim his lifetime's glory and fame, Musashi isn't one bit reluctant in his decision to cut down the strongest creatures of the modern world. So basically, Musashi is a tall, well-built man with scars on his body and has extremely thick wrists for a man of his size. He has wild black shoulder-length hair similar to the style of Yujiro Hanma. His eyes look nearly feline-like and has a constant dead-eyed look, while his face looks like a cross between a lion and human. So Musashi is extremely straightforward. He acts more or less like an ambitious, fame-striving artist of martial arts who desires the fame and glory he once had. Unlike any of the other fighters, Musashi is alone and mentally distant from the rest of the world, even more so than Pickle himself. Unlike Pickle, Musashi was unable to adapt to the modern age. His distorted mindset is seen numerous times, pointing to the fact that Musashi doesn't indeed feel any semblance of sympathy for others. He hardly shows any concern about who he injures and incapacitates anyone who dares to challenge him. In a similar fashion to Yujiro Hanma, Musashi very rarely goes all out, and instead chooses to mock most of his opponents. In the fight between Musashi and Pickle, he says that it gets very dull and boring when his enemies and opponent goes down within a single hit. As for Pickle, Musashi can slash him as many times as he wanted to. That said, he does have a code of honor and will only respond to an opponent's level of force with an equal level of force. If his opponent explicitly won't use lethal force and is not trying to kill him, then Musashi will likewise do the same, and only defeat his opponent while not killing them. For example, Doppo Orochi and Baki Hanma only wanted to challenge him to a fight unarmed, and while it was a no-rules fight, they weren't trying to kill him, merely risking their lives. Thus, instead of giving them some life-threatening injury, Musashi just knocked out Baki and Doppo. But when a police officer challenged him with a gun and stated his intent to kill if Musashi moved, Musashi killed him without hesitation. Even then, Musashi paid respects to the man by kneeling down to his fallen body, realizing that he was just doing his job as an officer of the law, while later telling his fellow officers to be at peace as their comrade died in a proper contest without fear. However, Musashi will show no mercy to multiple opponents attacking him with the intent to kill or do serious harm to him, as he sees it as war, not a contest. Musashi also has an incredible sense of danger, as he knows when a battle is life-threatening or not. When Yujiro fought Musashi, Yujiro wasn't really trying to kill him. In this case, Musashi probably treated the fight as another chance to train. So long as he doesn't consider a foe as trying to kill him, he simply treats the fight as a means to practice. As such, Musashi wasn't really putting intent to kill in his attacks against Yujiro, because he was using the opportunity to try and perfect his previously unfinished sword style against such an impossibly strong enemy. While his attacks could kill Yujiro, they didn't have the intent to kill in them, so Yujiro didn't auto-dodge it as it was within the realm of what he could face head-on. Musashi is able to swing with such force that he completely destroys a sword that has been in use for more than 60 years. Musashi also broke Retsu's 9-section whip with his hand. He has amazing grip strength. Comparable to Kaoru Hanayama, he was able to crush bamboo, was able to lift Baki and Retsu Kayu, who weighed more than 100 kilograms with one hand effortlessly. He lifted Yujiro Hanma up with both his hands, when Yujiro took hold of the blade of his katana and knocked him out with a palm to the face. He is sent flying, but his grip on the sword remains strong enough that Yujiro is sent flying with him. Musashi is even able to cut through the skin of some of the toughest fighters in the series, such as Baki, Hanma, Pickle, and even Yujiro himself. Musashi himself is immensely durable and has a high tolerance to pain. He took many blows from Retsu and his whip, which send nails and teeth from the ground on his face, and even hit him to his eyes. He endured punches from Hanayama, and even from Pickle and Yujiro. His speed is also incredible. He was capable of outrunning vehicles, or shortening the distance between his opponent in the blink of an eye. In fact, Musashi is so fast that he is able to make an afterimage of himself when he disappears from one place and appears in another as if it was some sort of teleportation. In addition, he possesses one of the fastest reflexes from all fighters from the series so far. He was able to dodge and even cut bullets in half in midair, counter fast opponents in the paper distance, and dodge even punches from the fastest fighters like Baki. When they fought, Yujiro Hanma himself believed that Musashi can give him a real challenge, and Yujiro straight up activated his demon back, while noting Musashi is no pushover. The face-off between these two absolute monsters was like two equal rivals battling each other. Musashi and Yujiro were roughly on par. Yujiro himself held high regard for Musashi to the point he considers him someone on his level and can give him a real fight, making his lifelong dream come true. Praising Musashi to have the sense of a real warrior and saying he's even better than the stories about him. And no, Yujiro wasn't dominating Musashi because he was stronger. Yujiro basically cheap-shot Musashi with a kick to the scrotum. In power-wise, they were equal, but Musashi was weak and unfamiliar with unorthodox techniques that did not exist in his era. But still, Yujiro didn't come out undamaged after kicking Musashi's balls. He took considerable damage just to get the hit on Musashi's balls. It was only that time Musashi went down. Later, he quickly got up, and it was him who dominated Yujiro for a bit, with rapid slashes that Yujiro wasn't even able to completely dodge. Musashi's skill as a swordsman is of course extreme. He was able to counter Retsukayu's Xiaoli and kill him with a slash to the stomach. With his superhuman strength, he could cut through Pickle's flesh and cut through Motobi's aramid fiber chainmail. Even without a sword, Musashi maintains the ability to cut using his own hands. With his bare hands, he was able to cut through 8 bodies and perfectly split a gun in 2 along with the officer holding it. Musashi can simulate a sword strike without having moved an inch, with such accuracy that the people he strikes can feel the non-existent blade cutting through them and feel it fresh in their mind multiple minutes after. It is powerful enough that Musashi can use it on people who are unaware of his presence, and they would still notice it. Musashi's swordsmanship is so brutal that anything less than the perfect weapon will break upon use. He can extend this to people as well. By grabbing them and swinging them like a sword, he is capable of inflicting massive internal damage. Aside from his swordsmanship, Musashi also seems to have acknowledged martial arts of his era, and had many of them mastered, as he can kill people with a single punch. But still he relies on his swordsmanship most of the time. His intelligence is very high. In fact, Musashi is a battlefield genius. He is extremely perceptive, thoughtful, and has immense wisdom over the arts of war, especially sword fighting. He knows every sword fighting technique that existed in his time, and many others, which can effectively counter just about every other fighting style in the series. He was so skilled with the sword and in battle that he learned how to cut people without even using his actual swords, and his mind can pick up the signals of people's brains when they prepare to attack. So basically, a fight with Musashi naturally turns into a death match, because cuts given from a sword are more lethal than any other fighting style, and when a character is facing someone like Musashi Miyamoto, death is certain if they are not lucky. So yeah, that's all for this video, and thanks for watching.